Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Bright Funders Talk at Temi. Now, Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we have an amazing guest joining us, Raúl Bartolomé, Director of Hardware Engineering Excellence at Harman International. How did I do, Raúl? Did I do it correctly?
Yeah, very, very fantastic. Very good. Your,
Yeah.
your Spanish pronunciation is very good.
That was a 9 out of 10. I couldn't quite pull a 10 off, but I'm happy with a 9. So welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Fantastic. So I just coming from my paternity leave that I got a baby girl of now eight days old and happy for being here and resuming my, let's say, business activities.
Yeah, congratulations. Let's see what's
Thank you.
harder, running a massively successful company or taking care of a young 8-day-old baby. I'm not sure what's going to be harder for you. Maybe you can tell us later. So for those
Time
who
will
haven't
tell.
had the pleasure of knowing you or your company, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Raul, and the company that you work at?
Yeah, indeed, my name is Raúl, and I have a solid experience in the automotive industry, around 25 years in total. Most of the times in the engineering side of the business, and I tackle all aspects of assets such as hardware, software, system engineering, project management, people management, and alike. So from the past already 8 years, I'm in Harman Automotive, and I held multiple positions, right? And I ended as the last 2 years as a director of Hardware Plus Engineering. And well, this is in a nutshell. Also, I have a very solid education background from electronics, software, finance, and business. And maybe the most important of my career for this Bright Founders Talk is my entrepreneurship, where for 2 times I co-founded 2 startups. One of them, the last one, and the is Tritium Incorporated. That's was a business for engineering services business. We were based in the Philippines, and it happened from 2029, sorry, from 2009 to 2013, right? So I held the business operative for 4 years, and it was rather on a wow, was a very exciting time, right? But it already falls 10 years back, and they helped me to learn as a professional, to learn about businesses, customers, and leading people, and leading projects of all kind, right? So maybe today, for our audience in the Bright Founders Talk, the thing that might be of most interest.
What was the hardest thing for you to learn? What was the hardest thing that you had to go through to become a successful entrepreneur?
I would say multiple things if I need to pick one. All right. So, of course, we started with very naive, full of energy and intent. Okay, let's do it. And we started from scratch. We really started from zero. Right. So, for me, maybe that I'm very engineering bias individual. So, all the engineering services was working fine. I think the hardest part was the sales aspects, right? It was finding customers, making the customers happy, and searching next and next customer, right? That was quite stressy to keep all the time searching for customers and next customers, next project, right? Because the business proposition was engineering services of all kind, software, hardware, etc., right? So the sales facet was I would say, if I need to pick some, maybe the most difficult one.
Mm. And was it entrepreneurship in your blood? Like, did you know that was what you were going to do, like when you were young, when you were going through university, or did you just happen across it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, in my family, I have rather four cases of family members who were entrepreneurs as well, right? So maybe now I'm thinking out loud. I had some influence, right? I would observe at home, right? Then when I started my first degree, second degree, didn't resonate to me too much,
Mm,
right? And then was more, yeah, after 10 years of experience, I thought, hey, yeah, why not, right? So came kind of rather naturally, right? I don't know, I'm a person always looking for challenges, improvements, growing, communication, etc. So I guess was kind of a mix in the sense of, let's say, the influence innate, what observed since childhood, and what I thought was a great opportunity, a business opportunity in the form engineering services at with Cesium, right? At Cesium,
mm,
and we did it in the Philippines, right? So meaning that the what we would did it there because we were targeting, let's say, engineering services across the globe and at the cost-effective solutions, right? And
mm,
we got inspired with my previous company where I was working at Lear Corporation before that, a large automotive organization. And then we were expats. We were expats in the Philippines, and we thought, oh, look, if a large organization is setting up such as large, let's say, facilities for doing in-house outsourcing. Why not to do it as an independent company, right? As a startup, let me say, right? It was not a very complicated concept, right? Of yes, to leverage the opportunity to have qualified engineering services at a cost-effective target.
when you were first starting out, like how important was networking? Because I know that for some people, they said like networking is probably one of the most important things that you need to have when you're starting up an entrepreneur or a new company, for example. Is that right? Is that like the commonly well thought out opinion?
I think, 10 years, looking 10 years back, I think is quite sharp comment, right? I really think that networking sales is one of the pillars of a successful enterprise, right? So you can have the best engineering of the world or the best services of the world, but if nobody knows it, you don't know how to sell it, it stays there in your garage, right? So I think it's fundamental. It's fundamental, and it's what I said as we were asking me Barry before. That was one of our weakest points. Maybe we were too engineering biased, right? And we
Mm.
didn't pay enough attention to the, let's say, the sales aspect of the business.
You've done quite a few different companies and you've got a lot of international experience. Is entrepreneurship for everyone?
Certainly no, certainly no. I mean, that is easy question, right? So of course, I mean, I mean, yeah, I think really comes about is something very personal, I believe, right? Because you take a lot of risk. You take a lot of risk and big unknowns there, big uncertainty. This may or may not work. Big chances will may not work. Let's be honest, right? The majority of the startups they don't fly, right? And willing to take this risk and being comfortable with that risk, I think is only for few, right? Then you put so much effort, life, passion that well, usually that you need to aim for that. You need to wish that, right? So then, if you are more comfortable, relaxed, you are in a corporate organization most likely will be better, right? So, yeah, I really believe it's only for certain profiles of people really want to do so.
Would you say the sadist, basically?
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Yes. In terms of like, how do you know when you've got something that's really special, and how do you know when to walk away?
So, to me, answering that the first part of when you have something special, well, at the beginning, when we were moving in the engineering services only, that was not very special, right? You cannot differentiate much, right? So it's like searching for one project to another, and trying to make your customers happy, and hopefully they will call you again, and next project, right? So it's very human intensive and very project intensive. This is I didn't have this like aha feeling of oh, this is special. But in our attempts to diversify, we also created some mock-ups, some proof of concept of products, and that was rather exciting and interesting. Among them, and one of the pioneers in electronic cigarettes, we are talking 10 years ago, or wearable electronics, also very, very vanguard in that time. So those, that was what I felt like that resonated with me more than the services per se, right? But of course, the drawback is that the product development is more capital intensive, right?
Mm.
Plus human intensive, right? So that requires an investment, right? So that we didn't know how to move it forward, right? But this is like trying to answer that the first part of the question. The second part, when to walk away, that well, at the end was a little bit my hope, right, as a co-founder, and after few years, though we reached a break even rather quick in a couple of years, there was a time to say, well, Raul, do you see this moving forward? Do you see the risk to reward is in the plus side, right? Or maybe coming back to the corporate world, right, where the things, let's say, you don't play with your own money per se, right? You have the corporate umbrella there, right? Of course, you also have risks in a corporate world as well, right? And you can imagine, what is the answer, right? After some times thinking over, I say, well, I think it has been a great experience. I learned a lot. It helped me for many things in the corporate career too. But what's for the decision, right? Of too much risk, great potential, certainly, right? Of course, it can, if you could scale with hundreds of engineers and dozens of projects, so it could be have been a great thing, a big thing. That there is a time to say, oh, there's a time of you go back or you go full gear, right? And well, the decision was let's go back to the corporate world, and yeah, that's where I am now at Harvard Automotive.
So when you lead startups and when you lead like large corporate teams, are the skills basically the same, or do you have to approach it from a completely different perspective?
Yeah, also a great question, right? So it of course is not, they are not too far off, in the sense that when I led my engineering team at Cesium, right? So it's not sustain the same fabric, right? In a corporate world, when you lead a group of engineers, right? Of course, in corporate world, there is a start to progress in the career ladder, and then you move from leading engineers to leading managers, leading directors, and the like, right? So then, of course, your communication skills, expectations, leadership skills needs to be adapted to the different stakeholders, right? But of
Mhm.
course, comparing apples to apples, engineers to engineers is quite similar, right? Though in a startups, you you need to be more ingenious, right? Because you have less resources, and you need to figure out ways to do things right with 10% of the resources that you might have in a corporate environment.
When you're going through your journey, do you ever think and reflect, and go, "Oh, that was the hard part done. Now it's the easy part," or is it always a hard part, but you just don't know that you're at the hard part yet?
During the entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. Is there a
Uh,
time when you breathe a sigh of relief and go, "Oh, we've made it. We've done it."
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
During the There was not much time to rest. It's a struggle to put together too many pieces, right?
Mm.
First, that the money needs to flow. You need to pay the employees. You need to find the customers. You need to do the projects. You need the assets. You need to constantly invest. So I no time to rest. I need to say mentally and physically, very, very, very much more demanding, right? And
Yeah, I can
vacuum
imagine.
vacations, of course, no. That's up, well, up to you, you know. But so yeah, that was quite demanding. I would say quite demanding, very demanding. Yeah.
When you go in at the early stages, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of like desire and will to do something spectacular, maybe. Uh, How do you kind of balance that? Oh, the experimentation, the innovation, chasing like really amazing dreams, and actually trying to like rein yourself in and be a very practical person. Like, which one are you? Are you quite practical? Are you a bit of a daydreamer? Do you like to have that innovation? And how do you manage the fight between the two things?
Yeah, well, many good questions, right? So I would say that I mean both sides. I'm really a dreamer and really a visionary. I like, big goals that even as of today, but also try to be always down to earth, right? Let's say, what the money that you need, right? So in the entrepreneurship experience, right? Of course, where our cash cow, if you will, was the what were the projects, right? Were
Yeah.
the projects, the services that we had a handful of customers across the world. We had customers in the Philippines, in Europe and North America, and then well, we were serving their needs the best to the best of our abilities, right? So in general, they were quite happy. They were coming back to us, and that was our flow of let's say of cash that keep us afloat, right? And as I said before, from the other hand, was the visionary aspect, the pitching like a yeah something great with a handful of prototypes of products that we tried to do our demos and videos and concepts. Look, searching for investors or companies we might have interest that could grow in something bigger, right? So that's let's say from the entrepreneurship perspective, I think I recognize that I had these two facets, right, of my let's say of myself.
When you're a small company and you're working with people and you're kind of getting the characters that you want to work, I'm sure you can be quite selective and you kind of understand each other. How do you make sure as you're growing that you have the right people and that you have the kinds of people that can work well with you? Or maybe you need people who don't think like you and challenge you more. Like, what school of thought are you in regards to that?
Of course, in our case, again, we were a startup, right? So we did a fairly, I would say, advanced hiring process, right? That I inherited from the corporate world, and we were basically selecting quite fresh graduates, right? We couldn't afford senior people, right? The most senior was me, right? And I was kind of training them. So for us, the strategy somehow was hiring like a rather fresh graduates, engineers, right? I was training them, and what was quite painful that the time to time where they were leaving, right? To say, okay, Raúl has trained me. Okay, I go to corporate world, right? Happened me quite few times, and that was painful, right? And well, in my selection of, let's say, graduates, fresh graduates, yeah, I try to get the most talented people, and if they are more clever than me, fantastic, right? And um, yeah, so that was, I would say, that our HR policy for recruiting engineers, right? But as I said, right, yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't afford yeah, we had only a couple of seniors, not very senior. Maybe we're talking about 6 to 10 years of experience, but the bulk were more fresh graduates, and I was teaching all of them, coaching, and they grew up and they became quite a successful engineer.
Are you the kind of person who likes to specialize like in one particular thing, or are you quite happy to like wear lots of different caps? I imagine it in the start of a business, you have to kind of do lots of different tasks, right? You can't just sit there and say, "Well, I'm only going to do this." Are you good at do you prefer to specialize, or are you quite happy to go out and like wear many caps, so to speak?
I certainly I can wear many caps with no big problem, but I also very specialized, right? So
Mhm.
I'm able to tackle very diverse themes or subjects from software engineering, hardware engineering, or finance, or computational, customer communication, name it. And also, I'm able to go to do a deep dives in
Mm.
really to the beat, leading to the transistor if necessary, right? So I'm quite a constant learning person. You know, you may see from my, let's say, my educational curriculum, and yeah, and I keep learning constantly, right? So I'm very humble, and I'm very open-minded in that direction, right? So yeah, I'm also very flexible, and of course, in an entrepreneurship, also not chance, right? I mean, I'm, this is maybe it's my, let's say, my way of behaving, but in entrepreneurship, startup, let's say, environment, certainly you need to do whatever it takes to keep the company afloat, right? So
Yeah.
everything, since drilling, electrical installation to talking with the customer to, yeah, of course, save, you need to save every month, every cent is important to be saved for the right
What is the
purpose.
hardest part of growing a company? Is it the people? Is it the technology? Is it making sure that you don't lose all your money? What is the hardest part?
All you mentioned that plays a role, certainly. To me, maybe it was, if I would say it comes to me in my mind, is that the sustainable growth, right? Because of course you start with, I don't know, one admin person, two engineers, you keep adding, then at the same time you need more projects, right? Then yeah, you keep getting more income, but more expenses too, right? So this they need to be clever that well, the difference is your profit, right? So to do a sustainable growth, I would say was my puzzle to solve, right? Then yeah, you want to have fantastic assets, fantastic office space, and name it, right? So, but everything has a cost, and the and only the customers, they pay everything at directly or indirectly, right? So yeah, I would say that this sustainable growth is that my was my biggest challenge. Yeah.
So I don't want to put people off, Raul. So I want to end on a bit of a positive note. Like,
Okay,
what's the
sure.
best thing about being an entrepreneur? What are the things you look back and go, "Do you know what? I wouldn't change it because of this."
When I think the learning is extraordinary, the learning that you take with you, no matter if you, let's say, succeed, Elon Musk, whatsoever, right? There's only one, right? Or eventually you decide to shut down the company. The learning is extraordinary, I find, and I think that's a takeaway that comes with you. And I telling you that also helped me to open many doors in the corporate executive world, right? In the corporate, there is a big trend in the corporate that looking for entrepreneurship talent, and of
Mm.
course, that you cannot learn in an MBA, right? On a
Yeah.
business education, right? So then it helps in how the people perceives you. Yeah, and not only that, not only how you have seen in the organization. Hey, Raúl is a co-founder of two startups. Also, you really change, right?
Yeah.
How to tackle the things, the how it's called, the self drive, the ownership about the things. It says many things about the person who has run startups, and also it forces you to change as a person as well, right? I would say that is the best part, right? It's like you could say that a real life MBA, if you will, right? So that for me has been maybe the biggest takeaway, right?
Perfect. Lovely. And the final question, just before we finish, Raul.
Mhm.
Someone watching this now, another bright founder or someone who wants to set up their own company, what is the best single piece of advice that you could give them?
Yeah, just I maybe if I need to pick one is do it alone.
Do
Do
it alone.
solo entrepreneurship. There are, of course, some cases of a partnership, but it's difficult. It's difficult to be a co-owner.
Yeah.
Um, so it happens two times with me. I founded two startups with co-owners, let's say. I think if you can afford to do it alone, it's better. If, of course, if later on you need to hire somebody, a senior, and to pay high, yeah, it is what it is, right? But I think is a single entrepreneurship is my recommendation, right? And what you said before, networking sales needs to be the top of the agenda, right? And what is your business proposition, right? And yeah, you can do also some kind of market plan, right? To how to tackle your business, right? But if I need to pick one, do it fly solo, yeah.
There you go. Experience itself talking there. Some golden advice, a pearl of wisdom there from you today, Raul. Listen, Raul, I want to thank you again so much for talking with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, sir. And looking forward to watch all the podcasts. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. That was Raúl Bartolomé, Director of Hardware Engineering Excellence at Harman International.